Hi guys, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about 5 mistakes PTE taker will make when they're trying to attempt a high score in PTE test. So some of these mistakes I've personally made and some of them are described by friends around. Oh, kitty! And I think these will hinder your performance when you're trying to attempt like the highest, absolute best score you can get in PTE. So yeah, let's stay tuned and find out what mistakes you have been making or you probably will make when you're preparing for your next PTE. The first mistake you probably are doing is to imitate an accent. If you're not a native speaker, you probably have an accent. In terms of the scoring system, pronunciation is a very important core area that they reflect you on. However, you don't have to have a specific accent to achieve a high score in pronunciation. The way it is scored, it's by an AI, like a computer, and they have like a database of how each word is sounded like, and they can identify whether you are speaking the word within the native realm. So it's kind of vague. Now, as long as the sounds that you're making are correct English pronunciation, there is no way they can take you score out of anything that you speak. So you don't have to spend a lot of time to imitate an accent. A lot of people think that they need to have the perfect native accent to get perfect score in pronunciation. Like, you just have to say all the words in the right way. You don't have to have an accent, you know what I mean? So yeah, just don't spend a lot of time to correct your accent. Rather, you should correct your pronunciation. The second point is also around accents, but rather than speaking accent, we're talking about listening an accent. Now, the PTE test has a variety of accents that they have recorded, and it includes basically all kinds of English native accents. So if you are only exposed to one accent, say the standard American, you won't be able to understand a lot of other accents, say like an English accent or an Australian accent. So you need to maximize your exposure to different native accents so that when you're in the PTE test, you can be able to understand all sorts of accents that they provide. You know, sometimes if you're just not familiar with that accent, you just take more time to think what they're saying, but then you've already missed it. For example, in retelling lecture, because there is a very limited time constraint, and you would need to take a lot of time to understand and comprehend the topic and the arguments that they're making in the whole recording for probably 1 to 2 minute recording. So you have to understand all the concepts that they're trying to say, and you will have to, repeat it by using your own words, of course. But yeah, if you take a lot of time to familiarize yourself with the certain accent that they're presenting, you would miss out on some points that might be important for your speech. So yeah, definitely maximizing your exposure to different kinds of native accents is going to be very, very useful for your PTE. Number 3, we are going into writing, because I feel like writing is something that people usually don't really talk about. The biggest question in writing is the essay writing section, where you are presented with a topic. It's probably 1 to 2 sentences describing a scenario, and then you have to make a choice whether you agree with the sentence or disagree with it. There are sometimes grey areas, of course. You can say you agree with both sides, but you are sided more towards one side, or you're completely neutral. There are options, you can write that. But the difference between PTE and IELTS is that there's no creative writing. So in IELTS, you will have a question on creative writing, which definitely takes you to a high level of English writing. For example, you will have to write in a way that you present unique writing styles, whereas in PTE, you don't need those unique writing styles. You don't need fancy, sentence structure, or like there's no complex sentence structure or complex grammar that you need to be aware of. Unique style, like in writing, is not a thing that they assess in PTE, which is different to IELTS, because in IELTS you need to write really extravagant essays, but in PTE, none of those. You just need to write really good argumentative essays with good examples and good arguments, basically. Good quotes can be useful, but it's not necessary. And grammar needs to be on point, and vocabulary can be really wide, but it's more on the content, like what ideas are you presenting. Okay, Kitty, are you leaving? Okay, bye. But yeah, so unique writing style isn't really one thing that you should be focusing on when you're preparing for PTE. Rather, I would say you should expand your vocabulary. Okay, number 4. I think this is more like a misconception about PTE rather than a mistake, but I was struggling at some point when I was, looking for sources practicing PTE online. There are some like free online tests that you can take, but I wouldn't really suggest those because they have really rigid marking scheme, unlike the actual PTE. For example, in the listening component, you have to listen to a sentence and then you have to type out what they said. Sometimes the recording will say it's, but then you'd be like, should I say it's or it is? Honestly, if you're in a PTE, they both work. They will both get you the score because it means the same thing. It literally is the same word. It's just with contraction or without contraction. So some online free PTE tests will tell you, no, it is wrong. You have to write it is. But you'll be wasting your time to figure out whether you should write a contraction or not. But just go with whatever you heard, when you're in the PTE. It's the same word, so just don't worry about it. And also sometimes in the listening component, they will ask you, sometimes in the speaking component, there will be questions where you have to provide a short answer. And sometimes you'd be like, should it be in plural, or should I add an article in front of it? Should I say a book or books? To be realistic, they both work, because in the PTE, it doesn't really matter if it's a plural or not. That is something that you have to be aware of. There are some online tests that are not designed the same way PTE is designed. Although the question types are similar, the way the scoring system is not exactly the same, and you might want to avoid them. But if you want to go practice for free, go ahead, and just bear in mind that sometimes if they say that you're wrong, you could be right. Final mistake that you can make is to stress about the recording quality. I am guilty of doing this. Like the first time I took my PTE in Perth, I was so stressed out because, before the test starts, you have like this page where you can test your microphone, test your earpods, no, not earpods, earphones, no, actually, test your headphones and microphone. And you can play the recording and see if you can hear it properly. And then there's also a recording, test that you can do to test if your microphone is actually working. And the first time I did it, it's not got like a good quality of recording. It does sound a little bit rough. What I did was I raised my hand and asked the invigilator to check my microphone and ask if it's what it is. Like, is this the quality that I'm getting? Why is it so bad? But they say, it's fine, just go ahead. So I'm like, sure, okay, that's fine. But the whole time I was like, can they hear me at all? But they can. It's just the quality not being great, but it's actually fine. It's just that when you hear it, it sounds a little bit rough and you'd be scared, you'd be stressing out. But no need to be stressed. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. I haven't really heard anyone complaining about the microphone quality. It's just me, maybe. That brings us to the end of the video. And if you want to see more videos or you have any ideas or suggestions for my next video, please comment below and interact with me on Instagram, because I'm quite active on Instagram. I will post daily tips and daily quizzes on Instagram story. My Instagram is roni.english. And if you would like to support me monetarily, you can subscribe to my Patreon channel, which is linked below. You will be able to access my videos early, and I'm also planning to do podcasts or live streams, whatever makes it better. You guys can comment below if you want me to do live stream or podcasts for like an hour or so, because I can teach more specific PTE skills with like a longer time period. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!